Hello everyone, welcome back to Nagash, which is of course a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. If you're first time watching this channel, welcome. And in today we're going to be talking about the KRUELBOYZ, as Games Workshop have yet again put up another news article, which I'm covering a lot at the moment. And this one, I say it's about the KRUELBOYZ, but really about the Orruk Warclans in total. I mean, it's mainly sort of hinted at about KRUELBOYZ, but there's a lot of Bonesplitter stuff in here as well. I won't lie to you guys, it's not so much stuff in here about Ironjawz, but there is a little bit, so stick around for that. As always guys, let me know your thoughts about everything we're going to see today and everything that you have read on the Warhammer community article in the comments in the chat of this video. And as always guys, if you do enjoy this video, make sure that you smash the like button, the subscribe button and the bell notification. Would really help me out and I would appreciate that. So the first thing it says: Mob 'em, Skewer Em, or Zap Em. 3 ways to Waaagh in the new Orruk Warclans Battletome. So lovely little KRUELBOYZ there. And then it says, who said the Stormcast Eternals get all the good toys? I mean, they do. Let's just face it. The Waaagh is back with vengeance later this month when a new Battletome for the Orruk Warclans is released. And with 3 great sub-factions, the cunning Bonesplitters, the brutal Ironjawz, and the brutally cunning KRUELBOYZ. It's got loads of great ways to build an effective, varied, and thematic armies. Just something I like to say something there is I don't know if they were just saying the word so it's easy for people to understand, but in the Orruk Warclans Battletome that is currently out, you have 3 ways to play it, which is the Ironjawz, the Bonesplitters, and the Big Waaagh. And that's essentially what you're going to get here, but you've got the KRUELBOYZ as well. However, like the Ironjawz is not technically a sub-allegiance, neither is the Bonesplitters and the Big Waaagh. They're all allegiances in their own right. And then you have sub-allegiances within them, and then it kind of contradicts itself here, but then it contradicts this bit later on in a good way, because it makes it feel like we are going to get actual sub-allegiances as well. It's not just like your Ironjawz, that's it, there's no really way to vary it. But anyway, we move on, but I just wanted to pick that up because that is a bit of a technicality that's good to talk about. So we've came up with 3 such armies from the new Battletome that mix and match the Warclans talents to produce fighting forces that don't always involve rushing headlong into the enemy. I mean, that's partly why this army is fun, but I do like the sneaky tactics of the KRUELBOYZ, so I'm excited. It says Monster Hunters. So monsters are a big deal in the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and what's more glorious to an Orruk than a horrible death met while trying to kill something 10 times their size? Obviously something 11 times their size. If you suspect that your opponent might be about to field an army full of gargant-sized monstrosities, first flood the battlefield with battle-line savage Orruks armed with choppers. This provides a respectable 10 Bonesplitters per unit for a total of 20 attacks wounded on 2s if you charge. And even if you don't topple your foe, you might injure a monster enough to reduce its attacks profile and soften them up for your more devastating units. And that's pretty cool picture there, isn't it? Surrounding that Stegodon. And obviously more powerful being probably the big stabbers. Next, convince some savage big stabbers, to join your army. Their mighty Gork tooth spears bring serious pain in death, and big stabbers hurl their huge spears one last time, dealing D3 mortal wounds on a 2+ to enemy with the monster keyword. So that is good, and that is, I can't remember if that has changed from before, because I knew they did basically throw their spear at the enemy when they died before. But it's a good point, the Bonesplitters, especially if they're getting retouched up rules, that they will probably do a bit better in this edition because of how many armies are bringing monsters. Most armies will bring at least a monster if possible. They used to do that before because people just generally like to have a nice centerpiece model for their army, and then they'll be even more incentivized to do that now, obviously with the new battle tactics and everything. Other reason why you would bring a monster in Warhammer Age of Sigmar playing in the realm of beasts in Gur. The one thing I will just say here, obviously, like when we go through Battletomes, but in this case articles, doesn't matter whatever army you're talking about in an article, Games Workshop will always make it sound like it's the best army ever. So just bear in mind when it's like, oh, you're just charging, 10, Savage Orc boys, and then they'll just do wonders, and even if they don't kill the Mega Gargan, you chuck one of these things at it and it's dead. Just bear that in mind. But it's nice for them to obviously talk passionately about the armies. So finally bring along some KRUELBOYZ to finish the job from afar. Okay, so these are my boys. So let's see what we got. That is a beautiful model. I can't wait to get it. The KRUELBOYZ new Beast Skewer Kill bows are perfect for bringing down the juiciest quarry. When you roll for damage, you roll a die for each wound the target has. With a bit of luck, they can take a big chunk out of a Mega Gargant or stop a raging bloodthirster in the middle of a killing spree. So here is its ability. So the Beast Skewer Killer Bow, the Skewered. So Beast Skewer Bolt can punch straight through a monster or several ranks of enemy warriors. To determine the damage characteristic for an attack made with Beast Skewer Bolts, roll a number of dice equal to the wound characteristic of the target unit. The damage characteristic is equal to 2 + 1 for each roll of a 5+, up to a maximum damage characteristic of 12 wounds, well, just 12. So to put this in the most simplest term, you go against Mega Gargant, has 35 wounds, right? Or, well, I say simplest, has 35, I think, or it might be 30, and then they gain an extra 5, depending on the sub-legions. Anyway, can't remember, but let's say it has 35 wounds, and then that means you roll 35 dice, and for every 5 up, that's going to be another damage added to the characteristic, which is huge, which is really, really good. But obviously, that's like the best case scenario. I don't really think this needs much of an FAQ, because how I read it in the sense of, if you're targeting a unit with a unit of 20 Graveguard, let's say, they have 1 wound each apiece, you're just rolling 1 dice, because that's how many wounds that model characteristic is. I don't think you're rolling 20 dice for having 20 models in that unit. But if you think differently, let me know down below in the comments. And then clearly, if you do think differently, then this requires like an FAQ. But I think it's really sort of aimed towards those big monsters, even if it's got 12 wounds or something. But if it is the way how I think it is, and you only roll 1 dice for if it's a multi-model unit, let's say, if it has a wound characteristic of 1, obviously, then this thing isn't probably very good if it's only got like 1 attack. But again, we don't know that, and that's speculating in a very, just like presuming the worst. But that's how I tend to do things, because then you're less disappointed. But no, that's a lovely model, and I will be buying it nonetheless. So, but it could do a lot of damage. It's got a lot of potential there, and I kind of like it that it has a purpose against monsters, and it's not just like some shooting, which is flat out good against everything. Like, I like it that it's got a purpose to it, and that definitely looks like. Remember watching like any sort of like monster hunting film or something like that, or dragon hunting film, you can definitely imagine that's the sort of thing they would shoot the dragon with. So yeah, I like that. Okay, so as you can see, a mixed ORRUCK army works very well when you build it around a clear theme. Running them as a big Waaagh gives you all sorts of bonuses over time that allows even basic units to threaten monsters and everything else for that matter. It works like this. You bring together a grand coalition of different greenskins who then egg each other on to feats of violence and savagery and build up Waaagh points throughout the game. Once you hit a certain threshold, things get silly in the best way possible. So you get the power of the Waaagh. So the Waaagh becomes barely containable and requires just one last push to reach critical mass. At the start of the combat phase, you can say that you will release the power of the Waaagh. If you do so, add 1 to the attack characteristic of many weapons used by friendly ORRUCK units for the rest of that phase. At the end of that phase, you lose all the Waaagh points you have received so far, and your army loses all the Waaagh powers it has gained so far. So, bear in mind, I'm not an ORRUCK player, but from what I remember, that is significantly worse, because yeah, that's generally a great ability, but from everything we've seen so far, how it used to work is you roll a dice, and I think so basically this used to be, I think it was command ability you unlocked once you basically hit the end of the big Waaagh of like the scale of things you gained. This was like the last thing you gained. You got the command ability. When you did the command ability, you got this, so it added 1 to the attacks, but you rolled a dice after, and on a 1 you lost all your points. On a 2 to 5, I think it was, all your Waaagh points got cut in half. I think rounding down, can't remember on that bit. But on a 6, you got to keep all your Waaagh points, and now you just lose them. So all I can say is someone who's played against Orruk Warclans, and like you think, oh, they're getting quite a lot of buffs from all these big Waaagh stuff, and then they roll their dice and they roll a 6 and go, I get to keep them all, and you're like, oh, I'm really happy for you because that's quite hard for you to roll a 6. But at the same time, like, for fuck's sake. So as someone who potentially will be playing against, obviously, Big Waaagh, it's nice, but in the same way I liked how it was before, because often you would get half your Waaagh points back, and I get it that you build up all your Waaagh points with such a great bonus like this, but I think like other armies have better bonuses, so for the fact that you just lose everything that gives you your synergy, and once this gets activated, it's a little bit sad. But then again, there may be easier ways to get Waaagh points now going forward, because it might change. There might be different ways, might be easier ways to do. We don't know how far this is down on the scale of trying to get the Big Waaagh. It may even be easier to achieve this, and then that means once you get reset to 0, it won't take you long to get back up to this sort of level again. Maybe you'll get to do this twice in the game. So again, speculating for the worst, but to try and avoid disappointment. But I just thought I'd give you my thoughts on that. So the brave shooters. So fighting from afar is still fighting, right? Faithful readers will remember that we've discussed the ORRUCK talents at range once before, and faithful watchers of my channel will realise that. And the KRUELBOYZ have solid new options for long-range firepower. Surprise your opponents by making them run across the battlefield into withering crossbows fire for a change. Now, I get it that, the ORRUCK, you think like nice combat armies, and all my armies are combat armies. Like, this will joint with the Stormcast army I'm building up alongside this, will be my first shooting army, basically, which is weird because it's ORRUCK's, right? But I really like these guys. I think these are overall my favourite. I would say from the initial release that currently is available and is out for the KRUELBOYZ, the shooters, the Bolt Boys, whatever they were called. Skewer Bolt Boys, that's their name, are my favourite, and I think their helmets are really cool. And they just remind me of like the crossbows from like the Uruk-hai from Isengard and stuff, and Lord of the Rings. I really, really do like them. So, let's see what they've got. Skewer Bolt Boys and Beast Skewer Killer Bows have... Nope, that is... I was trying to get mixed up. Nope, that is the big one. Right, okay. So they both have a range of 24 inches, and they hit on a 2+ if you don't move. If you choose the Big Yellow's War Clan, you get to add 3 to that range. Not bad at all, especially when you consider that Bolt Boys are battle line units in a Big Yellow's army. Go wild. So, and don't forget that even mere Hobgrots can strike at range with the Sulfuric Scrap Grenade. Fantastic. If the unit's Noisemaker is still alive, the Hobgrot Slitters can hurl grenades after running. That's more than up to... That's more than up for the 8-inch range. They only have small arms, so they can't throw very far. It does make sense. And it then goes on to say that if you want to add in some Bone Splitters, you can always let the Bone Grinds Warclan darken the skies, poorly aimed arrows. So I do just want to go a little bit off topic now, because it's just mentioned that Beast Skewer Killer Bow again. And I'm just thinking, about this ability. So obviously with the KRUELBOYZ, if they roll a 6 to hit, it does like mortal wounds instead of normal damage. So the only thing with that though is I think that this is probably going to be counted as, for the sake of things, it might be counted as a mount, the crossbow, so then it won't benefit from that, as the mounts don't benefit from the KRUELBOYZ ability for their allegiance ability in that sense. But otherwise that could really build up to a lot more wounds. You roll that 6, because then you do the other stuff and it could just be boom, here's 12 more wounds. But again, I don't think it will, but I just thought that's like a really cool thing to mention if it could do. But anyway, on to the Bone Splitters. So, the Bone Grinds. So, the barrage of arrows. So, though they are not great at hitting anything, they are actually aiming at. Bone Grind Arrow Boys fill the skies with so many missiles that it rarely makes much difference. Add one to your attack characteristics or missile weapons used by friendly Bone Grind Savage ORRUCK arrows. I believe that is a new change. I don't think they had that. I think maybe they had like exploding 6s instead, or maybe they'll still get that. And this shows that they are, what I understand, I was contradicting what they were saying before about how the ORRUCK Warclans has 3 sub-allegiances. That shouldn't be the case, because this is a sub-allegiance within the Bone Splitters. So, unless all Bone Splitters now are just called Bone Grinds, which I severely doubt, it looks like you'll have still sub-allegiances anyway, so don't worry. I think they just call it sub-allegiances within the ORRUCK Warclans just to kind of make more sense to most people. I think that's the only reason. But the ORRUCK Warclans has 3 allegiances in it. It will do in the new book with the KRUELBOYZ. And then each one of those allegiances will have 2 to 3 sub-allegiances, roughly. Right, okay, so it goes on to say that gives your arrow boys 3 attacks each. A few units of these unlikely archers will make your opponent think twice about sending in all but the hardest units. But I'm pretty sure they still hit on 5s. So then you go on to saying about spell slingers. So with 3 distinct factions in the Battletome, you get a wide variety of shamans and 3 separate spell lords. If you mix your wizards together in a big Waaagh, you'll get 1 bonus Waaagh point if you have any Bonesplitters wizards on the battlefield. So you can rack up those points even more quickly. So that's pretty good because you probably are going to have a lot of wizards in your army. You definitely have this guy. I don't think I've ever really played against many sort of big Waaagh armies without at least one of these guys in there. So the KRUELBOYZ wizards have access to an all-new Law of the Swamp with sneaky spells that will put a damper on your opponent's plans, like the Cloaking Mist. So, I'm not choking, and imagine it cloaks the battlefield as well. So the Law of the Swamp, Choking Mist. The shaman summons a cloud of corrosive vapor that scorches the lungs of any caught within it, causing them to fall to the floor, gasping for breath. Choking Mist is a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 24. If successfully cast, pick a point of the battlefield within range and visible to the caster. All units within 6 inches of that point are affected by the Choking Mist until the start of your next hero phase. While a unit is affected by Choking Mist, subtract 1 from the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by it to a minimum of 1, and it cannot run. Right, so that's, before I move on to the next one, let's just talk about that. I think that's pretty good. Obviously, it depends what you find against. There's lots of things out there that only have 1 attacks, but then there's lots of things out there that make things from like 1 attack to 2 attacks. So depends what you find, but generally should be pretty good. I think it's good that it's not, you know, like subtract 1 from their save or something, which could be another generic thing, because then obviously, like, it might affect things with Ren. But then again, actually, you know, it's the dice roll, isn't it? So it's good that I'm just trying to think of something where it doesn't duplicate itself. It's a good thing the Choking Mist doesn't buff you guys to get like +1 to hit or something, which is very off topic and not really what I was going towards. But yeah, good spell, good range, and affects a lot of stuff, so I like that. Ironjawz wizards use the Law of the Weird, drawing on the energy of nearby Orrucks to drive them into a killing frenzy, among other things. So Law of the Weird, bash 'em lads. So pulsing waves of Waaagh energy radiates from the shamans, boosting the fighting prowess of nearby Ironjawz. So bash 'em lads has a casting value of 8. If successfully cast until your next hero phase, you can add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks made by friendly Ironjawz units that are wholly within 16 inches of the caster. So a couple things with this. I think a bit of a problem is that your casting value is 8. Ironjawz are not the best of casting. There may be 1 or 2 ways to maybe get pluses to cast, but and obviously, unless there's like a command trait and an artifact, something that helps with that, that's great. But you may struggle. Also, the only wizard that the Ironjawz has at this moment in time is the Weird Knob Shaman, which you don't really want him to be in the thick of it. And notice it's wholly within 16 inches. Not the smallest range, but it's not the biggest range. So this may be something like if you can make a Mega Boss into a wizard, or you can make a Mega Boss and Maw Crusher into a wizard, something like that. So it's going to be more up the board. Yeah, that's my sort of thoughts on it. But if you can get it off, yeah, +1 to wound's awesome. So that's good. Much better than like +1 to hit, which I was kind of trying to mention when I was talking about the Choking Mist, because obviously you can't stack that +1 to hit, and there's various ways to achieve +1 to hit. So +1 to wound is definitely good. And then you'd be able to get you guys hitting and wounding on 2s, I imagine, with that. So the Law of the Savage Beast is available to all Bonesplitter wizards, allowing them to process their kin with atavistic wrath. Then again, can't pronounce this word, but a furious wrath of unfettered fury is what I'm going to say. So Law of the Savage Beast, power of the Wereboar. I mean, the Wereboar. That's just great, isn't it? But great name. I know it doesn't because I've read this, but I hope it would just turn your guys, like your Savage Orruk unit, you can only do it once per game, but your Savage Orruk unit turns into like a Boar unit or something. That'd be really cool. But the the shamans summon a stampede of roaring swine spirits that temporarily transform a mob of bone splitters into snarling rage-filled demi-beasts. So Power of the Wereboar is a spell that has a casting value of 6 and a range of 24 inches. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly bone splitters unit wholly within range and visible to the caster until your next hero phase. Add 1 to the run and charge rolls for that unit, and add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by that unit, but that unit cannot shoot. So basically, don't put this on the sheet with the arrow boys and everyone else. Sound. That's really good. It's definitely going to help. Like, put it on the ball boys, make them really, really fast. There are other ways to make your army fast, presuming those rules stay the same going into this new Battletome. So yeah, and a great range on it. So I do like that, and a low casting base. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a nice one there. And then while most ORRUCK spellcasters are great in support roles, you can fit quite a few into your army for a twist on the usual formula. They're all pretty good in a scrap with loads of spells that add directly to your already impressive damage output. Again, big picture here of the Savage Orcs. I just love it if they would make this sort of custom terrain, not printable, but I suppose you could get that printable. But I just like it if they'd sell it separately and stuff, because that is awesome. And how cool would your battlefield look like that? But then again, you could probably get that 3D printed. So no matter how you ultimately decide to play your Orruk Warclans, the new Battletome gives you all kinds of fun and powerful options to use your collection. You will have to keep a watchful eye out on the Warhammer community website for news about when the book will go up for pre-order. Again, pretty goddamn sure it'll be going pre-order 21st of August. If you prefer, you can always sign up to their email newsletter to find out the news going straight to your email box. And that is that. So that's the article. Some cool stuff here. I think we learn more about the Orruk Warclans in this article than we did about the Stormcast in their article. But I might be wrong. I might just be biased because I'm more excited about the KRUELBOYZ more. But no, it's a good article. We didn't learn like loads and loads, but that's because I can expect we'll be getting more articles about this, especially if it goes on pre-order next Saturday or next week, presumably. Every day, Monday through to Friday, we'll be getting articles about the Stormcast and about the KRUELBOYZ. So I look forward to that. I don't think we'll get any more in the next over this weekend, just because they've sort of like covered it all throughout the week already, and the weekend usually they sort of show different stuff. But they will obviously mention probably on Sunday next week. On Saturday, pre-order all this stuff is probably what they're going to say. But with that, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Are you excited that we learned what we learned, or would you like to have seen some more? If you didn't like what we heard, if you did like, what was the thing that you liked the most and you're most excited about? Are you going to go BONESPLITTERZ? Are you going to go Ironjawz? Or are you going to go KRUELBOYZ all together? Let me know that down below, as that's always great to hear as well. So I know a lot of you guys are getting into Destruction like myself with the introduction of the KRUELBOYZ. So yeah, that would be awesome to hear. What I would say as well is that, like, out of everything I learned, I think I'm pretty happy with the stuff that we learned for the KRUELBOYZ. And the one thing I will say, though, is that it's just sad that we didn't really hear more about the Ironjawz, because I've sort of mentioned that at the start, because I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a head up. I think it's just one thing we learned, really, about the Ironjawz specifically to them. But yeah, so with that aside, guys, if you do enjoy this video, please do me a massive favour and smash the like button, the subscribe button, the bell notification. By liking the video, it shows to me that you like Destruction, KRUELBOYZ, Orruk Warclans, and it also shows to YouTube that people enjoy this video, and hopefully it will recommend this video to people who don't know the channel, and will bring new people to the channel and to our great community. By subscribing to this channel, massively helps the channel. At the end of the day, that's obviously how the channel grows. So that'd be amazing, and I know a lot of you people have been doing it lately, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. And then by smashing the bell notification, it really helps out the channel, so that's what the channel's lacking the most of, and people pressing that bell button. But also what it would do massively help yourself out is it means that you won't miss any one of these future videos, and especially on these new videos that you guys are liking and watching, particularly if you're listening right now. It means that when I put these up, sometimes it's like 50 minutes notice. I think yesterday it was like a minute's notice when the video went up and premiered. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss out, so you can join in live chat, make sure you press that bell button in day. You feel like you know anyone who enjoys this video, make sure you share it with them. And if you would like to join and get sort of like dive a bit deeper into the Asian Nagash community, we've got an amazing community here on Discord. So if you go and click the link to my Discord down below in the description, take you to my Discord. Got about 320 members on there, something like that, all amazing people, and have great conversations, talking about news like this will be going up, and also things like army lists, painting, tactics, so much stuff there, lore, whatever. Join that, and you won't regret it. And with that, guys, what I'd like to say as well is if you'd like to support the channel a step further, I have actually got a YouTube membership and a Patreon. So what does this mean? If you click the join button next to the subscribe button, it will allow you to become a member here on Asian Nagash, where you can give anything from just £1 a month. And that goes straight towards keeping the channel going. And if you would be more interested in Patreon, there's a link to my Patreon at the top of the description down below, where you can click it take to my Patreon, give anything from just $1 a month. Like I say, guys, as always, the amount of like time, effort, and money and stuff I put into YouTube, none of it is profitable. I lose money by doing this, but by people being able to support me at such a personal level, it shows to me that it's worth the effort and time and the money I put in at the end of the day, as people are willing to support me, and it allows me to make this content to try and help people get into Warhammer Age of Sigmar and continue their Warhammer Age of Sigmar journey as always, really. So if you could do that, that'd be absolutely amazing. Even just like £1 or $1 really goes to help out with that, so that'd be epic. And then the people who I really am grateful for at the end of the day are the people who made that decision. So my biggest supporter, of course, he knows who he is, so it's my Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, who is Filq. So Filq, thank you so much for your continued support of that tier. Massively makes a huge difference to the channel, and as always, like I say, it's really, really kind and really, really generous of you, so please keep it up, and it makes a huge difference. Thank you very much. And then my Morgasts, who are Bleed Red, the Necropolis, and Edward P. So thank you all so much for being Morgasts. That massively helps the channel, as I always say to you, and it's really kind the amount of support you give to the channel there. And then my Vampires, who always say are the core that keeps Age of Nagash going, are going to be Mir, Ben C, Rouse321, David A, Dragoonity, Ronni H, Darren L, SpareBear, Christopher H, Northdrop, Nathan F, Andrew G, Tom W, Wiggy Whooty, Anthony R, and Nathan S. Thank you all so much, because again, being vampires is very kind of you, so thank you. And then my Necromancers being Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas, WolfNick, Michal W, Cranky Wombat, Tom M, Christopher C, Christopher F, James S, Thomas B, Steve T, James T, Patrick F, JJ R, Christopher, Sception, Arnold G, and Shaun S. Thank you all so much for allowing me to keep this up. And if you are watching this video at this point, you can thank these guys as well, as that's how you're watching this video and how you enjoy the channel. And if you can support the way, that'd be absolutely amazing. Click the join button, link to my Patreon down below. But if you can't do that, no worries at all. All I do ask, if you do enjoy the video, smash the like, subscribe, and bell notification. So that also massively helps out the channel. And the best part of that, doesn't cost you a thing, absolutely free. And beyond that, guys, I'm just really happy that you came and watched this video today. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, until next time, to stay safe, stay healthy, make sure you wear a mask. For God's sake, wash your hands. So then it means when the KRUELBOYZ come out, you will actually be able to roll better with them. You'll have better luck. It's just science. And then beyond everything else, guys, is remember, until next time, as always, that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.